Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football. Welcome back to your Friday live stream. I like to call it the Freak Flag Feel Good, Fake It Till You Make It. Ric Flair, Woo! Football Friday edition of our live stream. Appreciate you guys joining us. We got a lot to get into, of course. A big weekend, big recruiting weekend for the Longhorns. That's why we got CJ and Jeff here to break it all down. And Jerry Hamilton, he's always out there trying to get the nuggets for you. So Jerry's got some tweets that we'll get into. We'll get into all of that. Also, we'll talk about the alleged leaked ratings from the new college football game. So I don't know how official they are, but the players themselves are responding to it. So we'll respond to it. We'll talk about that too coming up and what Longhorns have the best and highest ratings on the latest college football games. We'll also get into an article I found about Peyton Manning talking about Arch Manning here at Texas. So we got a lot of good topics to dive into. But of course, whatever you guys want to talk about, that is our number one priority. Throw out your questions, comments, as many of them as you can. Super chats will jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time and talk about whatever you want to talk about. Just throw a super chat out there. We won't be here as long, so a little truncated edition of our live stream. So please try to throw out your questions ASAP, and we'll get to them as soon as we can. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Pleased to be joined by fellow Lifetime Longhorn, the young prodigy CJ Vogel, and the newest member of the On Texas football family, my esteemed colleague and good friend Jeff Howell, joining us as well. All right, so we got a lot to get into. I know recruiting is top of mind. So CJ, I'll just kind of let you kind of set the table here for the recruiting weekend, the official visitors that are going to be on campus. I know Jerry has already been there at the airport identifying guys, got some video. What's the latest for Texas?
Yeah, third official visit weekend is underway. Diabell, fresh off of winning the MVP of the Elite 11 on Thursday, made it to campus late last night. He's set to host a number of guys this weekend, as well as the Texas staff. 4 other commits already in the boat as well. But look, I was out there with Jerry this afternoon as well. Got to see some big-time edge rushers get on campus. The first, look, we got to talk about Trenton Henderson out of Pensacola. Really talented, really good-looking prospect. He made it in with his parents and his younger brother. Worth mentioning him, a 2028 edge rusher, already has offers from Auburn, Florida State, and LSU. Here he is coming down the escalators. You see Alan Clark actually up front leading the way to pick him up. So we've talked about Alan Clark doing a heck of a job so far in his first year on the Longhorn staff. Already got another recruitment in the fold for him here as well. And then getting to see Tyler Atkinson in person. He checks every box. And look, I know that there's a lot of buzz right now about Tyler Atkinson. I know that there's a lot of buzz right now about Xavier Griffin as well. Does Texas land both? I think Texas is in a sneaky spot for both. I would be shocked if Texas landed both. But this is one of those benefits of putting shots on net, recruiting to the highest level through the whistle as well. And yes, Cisco, I 100% agree. Though I will say I've been to this airport too many times this month. Like to say publicly. But anyways, point being, Texas hosting the right amount of guys. Of course, Caden Prothrow, Keawe Brown on campus as well. Texas doing a fine job recruiting nationally, as we've talked about. And this weekend, set to wrap things up. Big visitor also on campus. You see Caden Prothrow. That's body for a tight end that's just going to fill up and continue to grow. Also, worth mentioning John Turntine, 5-star offensive lineman, North Crowley, on campus this weekend. That's one that Texas, I don't want to say is a must-win, but with the way that A&M's kind of, regain some momentum on the recruiting trail, the way that Texas wants to continue pushing and stacking those top classes in the country, that's one that I feel like Texas needs to come out on top for the sake of this class.
Yeah, I'll call it a must-win, CJ, for John Turntine, just because at this point, losing him and Sam Roseboro in the same cycle to A&M, that'd be a pretty big blow to your offensive. You lose those two guys, you could still have a really good offensive line class, but losing two like that to a rival in one cycle would really hurt. I'm really excited about Trenton Henderson. Obviously, I think this is a weekend where the staff probably needs a commitment or two. And the good thing about that is you're not bringing in guys who can commit just for the sake of drumming up momentum, right? You're going to get a commitment from somebody that's actually going to move the needle, that can actually help you. A guy like Keawe Brown, if he commits, then all of a sudden, okay, Now you're not feeling that stressed out about tight end. At least you have one on the board. I think edge is a position where they've got a chance to make some moves this weekend. Wide receiver, can you, especially not everything sounded glowing coming off of Jalen Lott's visit last weekend. So can you get closer to and or close the deal with Caden Finley? So that's something that I'm honoring. The Tyler Atkinson dynamic is interesting because it kind of reminds me of several cycles ago when Texas was recruiting Bijan Robinson and Zach Evans, where you're like, okay, you feel like you're in it for both of them. Does recruiting both of them end up hurting you with both of them? The double-edged sword of recruiting 5-star guys at the same position. So they're a little bit different. Like Tyler Atkinson is a legit just off-ball linebacker. Xavier Griffin is more of an off-ball linebacker who can rush the passer situationally. And Anthony Hill that you like, you're comfortable with him doing that. So a little bit different guys, but still that's the risks you take when you're in the recruitment for a 5-star guy, man. You just gotta take your chances, take your swing when the pitch is coming at you, pitch to hit. So baseball analogies, I like where Texas is happening this week on these big time visitors.
It's like shooting your shot at a dime piece in the club. I remember Nathan Vasher had the best strategy. He's like, listen, I'm gonna hit on all dime pieces. Like that's risky, man. All right, because you got a better chance with a 7 or 8, but you're gonna go with all dime pieces. That's all right. He said, I'm gonna hit 10 though, and he said, I gotta at least get 1 out of 10. He said, it's impossible for me to go over. I mean, he said, so I'm gonna work hard, so get a high number, kind of what you guys are talking about, of the 5-star blue chip recruits, but play the odds, right? Play the percentages. They're on your side. As you said, you got a lot of shots on goal. To your point, CJ, same thing. And that's what my boy Nathan Vatt. That was his strategy, and it used to work. To see him, headed to the house with a dime piece, and they go, "That's the nasty Nate strategy." Right anyway, shout out to my man Nathan Basher. All right, let's get to some of these questions here. Jordan Scott said, "Who's better, Jalen Lott or Finley?"
It's a good question. They're different type of wide receivers. Finley, a bit bigger body. I think there's more explosiveness with a Jalen Lott. And with that said, Jalen Lott's just been my favorite prospect in this cycle on the in-state for 2026. I love the versatility. I love the ability to go up in high point. I mean, we talk about jumping out of the gym in basketball. I mean, Jalen Lott, UIL state finisher. I believe he finished second in both the high jump and the long jump. He's just got springs for legs, and I think that's something that is very hard to find. Now, I do think Caden Finley has his strengths, and I think he's certainly gotten faster from when Texas originally got him coming around on the recruitment. He's got that's probably going to be in the 10.8s, 10.7 range, Lott maybe 10.6. But look, I like Jalen Lott as much as any prospect in this class. If I had to make a top 5, look, Lott would be in there, and I think Lamar Brown would be in there, the defensive lineman out of Baton Rouge University Lab. Those are probably in my for sure top 5. I haven't thought about the other 3 yet, but I kind of lean to Lott right now.
Jalen Lott gives me – I get a little Des Bryant vibes watching Jalen Lott play wide receiver.
Wow, I like that. That's – oh, man.
It's a little bit – I get some Des Bryant vibes just because of the body type. I think when he's done filling out, he's going to look a lot – probably closer to a running back, 6 foot, 6'1", 200, 205, springy, explosive athlete, will fight tooth and nail when the ball's in the air. There's a little bit of Des Bryant in Jalen Lott's game. And it's ironic that Notre Dame is really, really hard after Caden Finley in this class, because I look at Caden Finley and CJ, it may be a lazy comp. And Rod, you saw a lot of this guy too. I look at Caden Finley, I see a lot of Jaden Greathouse. And a guy like Jaden Greathouse was a guy that wasn't not gonna blow you away with any of his testing numbers or anything like that. But man, when the ball's coming to him, it's not a 50-50 ball. It's more like an 80-20 ball in his favor. And a guy that's not afraid to put his body on the line over the middle. See a little bit of Jaden Greathouse in Caden Finley. So which one's better? Give me Jalen Lott for the explosive athleticism, but they're again kind of like the the Xavier Griffin, Tyler Atkinson conversation is kind of two different type guys.
Yeah, no, that's man, a Des Bryant. I got to go back and watch some more film on the kid. I like that Des Bryant comparison because Des Bryant, he could run, but he didn't have elite speed. But man, he was such a powerful, explosive athlete, and he was twitchy in a really kind of power speed to power.
Yeah, people forget Cowboys had him returning punts.
That's true. Good point. Yeah, you're right.
He had that unique size plus twitch to him.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It's a violent athleticism, Rod, is what I call it.
I like it. I like that. That's a good term. It's a good term. All right.
And by the way, Matthew, just shut your dirty mouth. Des caught that ball.
Okay. The Friday.
Oh, please.
What are we doing?
Oh man, we going back to that discussion. I thought he caught the ball too, but anyway, let's get to our first sponsor of the evening. Our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery. We really appreciate our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery. Just minutes from downtown Austin, folks, and they've won award after award for their vintage wine, Super Texan. As a matter of fact, we've been bragging about the Super Texan for a while, right? Telling you how great it is and how it won so many awards. Well, they recently decided to take it from a state thing and a regional thing to try to see if it competes with some of the best blends nationally. Well, turns out the Super Texan not only held its own, but it was just it was out there, winning major awards on a national level as well. Just last week, they won the San Francisco Wine Award with a score of 98 out of 100. It was named the top red blend in the country. So it's not just the best red blend in Texas, it's the best in the country. I told you, my wife loves it. We can't really keep it at the house very long. So have it at your local specs. They also have it at our local HEBs here in town as well. I saw it displayed at our local Central Market. So the word is getting out about the great wines over at Flat Creek Estate Winery. But try the Pinot Grigio, try the Rosé. They're really refreshing. But not only do they produce some of the best premium wines on the market, but it also is a gorgeous venue with barbecues, wine tastings, and tours every single weekend. Perfect for a day date with your significant other or a weekend getaway with your significant other. Speaking of significant other, not too long ago, we had a member of the Owen Texas football family get engaged out there at Flat Creek Estate Winery. So no matter how special the occasion, they can accommodate any of your needs. We appreciate them for their ongoing support of Owen Texas football and sponsoring our Friday live stream. That's flatcreekestate.com. All right, let's get back to some of the questions here.
Matthew done stirred the pot in the chat too with the Des Bryant.
See, now you got the cow because there's so much crossover here. A lot of our fans are also Cowboys fans, and he's so guys, don't let him taunt you. He's an Eagles fan. He's doing it on purpose. He just wants to see y'all unhappy
out there.
He's trying to ruin your weekend and start it off the bad way. Don't let Matthew do it to you, Cowboy fans.
Just quick sidebar. The other day, I came home. Probably a little later than I should have. Maybe, I had a little bit more fun than I should have. And I just sat down on the couch. You know what I did? I just turned on some prime Tony Romo highlights. I haven't had that much fun in a long time. Just watching 9 run back there. All right.
No, I'm a Texans fan, but also a true Romo-sexual. I do like me some Tony Romo. Always did appreciate Romo. And I know some Cowboys fans out there don't like Romo. So I get it. I get the fascination. He was just so fun to watch. His improv ability was great. And
it was fun, man.
Yeah. He was very underrated, Tony Romo.
I know everybody has their guys that they'll defend until they die, right? There aren't more there's 3 for me that I'll defend until I die. Romo's one, Dirk, obviously, top 20 player ever, better than KG. And then LeBron. I will defend LeBron forever. But anyways, I know that's not what we're talking about today, but it got me thinking about those Romo days, and Matthew just put me on a bad tangent. The
LeBron thing is a generational thing about, your generation is willing to go to the mat for LeBron. Mm-hmm. Our old generation, of course, that's an MJ thing, so I get it. All right, how about this question from Victor? It says, serious question, are we doing enough to lock down top Texas high school prospects? This is a good question, because, Sark is recruiting nationally. There ain't no doubt. I mean, this is a nationalized recruiting effort. And we talk about it with the footprints in Louisiana and getting to Georgia and all that kind of stuff. I don't even know how much you can lock down the state of Texas, I've said before, you got to try to get your major market share of the major markets of DFW and Houston, which I think Sark has done a really, and by the way, Austin is now in that category too, of those areas. The entire state, man, it's tough. It's tough to lock it down, all the top prospects. To my earlier analogy about Nathan Vasher's 10% rule, and you hit all the you say I only want dime pieces tonight, and you talk to nothing but tens. You may strike out a little bit more because they're dime pieces, but you also can't stay in the same club because it ain't that many dimes there.
Yeah,
there are only so many. So you also got to work hard and circulate. You got to go to different clubs looking for the dime pieces. To Sark's point, to the point about Sark, he's got to go to different states and go try to find the most premium prospects, because you stay in Texas, and I don't know if you can lock down all of them the way Mac Brown did back in the day. I don't know if that happens anymore.
Yeah, it's tough with the way that Texas has kind of pivoted to recruiting nationally, right? You want to go for the big names, right? The 5-star guys at Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, name them, Oregon. Everybody is recruiting after, and it makes sense, right? That's how you stack big-time classes. Though I kind of cautioned it last year when Texas was starting to really make inroads elsewhere, Georgia, Florida, right, up into the Virginias, the Carolinas. My thing is, look, you got to make sure that early on, at least, you give these guys on the in-state a chance. And I think that's something that maybe Charlie Strong didn't do a great job of. And I think later on, I thought Sark did a great job of recruiting early on in his tenure of the state of Texas and then moving outward. But you got to make sure that your home, your backyard is taken care of, right? You got to make sure that the weeds are picked, the lawn is mowed, the flowers are planted. And if not, you're going to come back and you're going to look at a backyard and you're going to say, this is kind of a nasty forest, right? Folks aren't going to want to come hang out on your patio anymore. And so that's where Texas is for me right now, is you got to make sure that everything is gone over and cleaned up. So you're seeing it right now when Texas, specifically at running back, you go after Tredarian Ball early. He makes an early commitment. That's fine. And then you kind of you make the change at running back coach with Tashard Choice leaving. You bring in Chad Scott. You got to make sure that you have inroads in the state of Texas, because otherwise you're recruiting basically always from behind with these out-of-state guys, especially from Alabama, especially from Florida with Derek Cooper. Those are tougher to overcome and win. So I always think that you got to make sure that you have a wide net, both on the in-state and a wide net nationally. So it's tough this year with running back specifically. We'll see about tight end with 2 guys on campus today, both out of state again. So we'll see if they are doing enough. But I think at the end of the day, if they're going to stack top 3 class and top 3 class, regardless of where they come from, you should be happy with the result. It just might take a little bit longer, be a little bit more of a grind and challenge for the staff to get to where they ultimately want to be.
And this is coming. I'm saying this as a guy that once took a lot of heat for writing a story about how the high school football coaches in the state felt about Charlie Strong, which was not good at one point.
I remember that. Yeah.
Relationships were not there. I don't think it matters as much anymore for 2 reasons. One, the state is too much it's too much in the footprint of the SEC that you can't lock it down. The borders of the Lone Star State are open and they're not getting closed back up. You can't lock them down. So what Mac did in the early part of this century, I don't think a coach in the state of Texas will ever do that again. At Texas A&M or otherwise. No, I just think it's too much of a, especially like Houston. Houston to me is kind of, Greater Houston to me has turned into, and the Metroplex is kind of starting to get this way, but Greater Houston has turned into like Metro Atlanta or Dade Broward County down in Florida. Like, it is one of those just battleground hotbed regions that I don't know that any one school is going to be able to plant their flag for an extended amount of time in Houston anymore. I just don't think so. The other part of it is where I don't think it matters anymore is because you've had so many people move in from out of state and establish roots in Texas. You don't have the overwhelming number of families and by way recruits that just grew up thinking, all right, I'm either going to Texas or Texas A&M or Oklahoma. That's not the case anymore. Like you get a lot of kids that maybe the family's from Louisiana or from Florida or Georgia or Ohio. Everybody go back to the Garrett Wilson recruitment a few cycles ago. There was like, the kid's from Lake Travis. How could he not go to Texas? His dad was from Columbus, Ohio. That was more of an Ohio State recruitment to lose than it was a Texas recruitment to lose, even though Tom Herman staff didn't do themselves any favor, but conversation for another day. But you're getting more kids in the state of Texas that did not grow up wearing burnt orange pajamas or maroon and white pajamas or crimson and cream pajamas. It just doesn't happen. So it's important, yes, and you need to maintain, whether it's the high school coaches, whether it's private trainers, 707 coaches, whoever it is, you need to have connections throughout the state in case you have something like this running back situation pop up where now all of a sudden, okay, we got to start over from zero, reset the board from scratch. Now you know where to go without wasting your time. It's just a couple of phone calls away. So you need to maintain your connections, but just making sure you win the state. Sark has proven you can sign a top 5 class, a class that can help get you a step closer to winning the championship. And it doesn't need to be overwhelmingly dominated by kids in the state of Texas.
Not like an LSU, right? And I actually went down a kind of a small rabbit hole the other day talking about LSU because I was wanting to look at where their big targets are kind of predicted at the moment, with Lamar Brown being up in the air, with Texas A&M, LSU all in the mix. Since Brian Kelly took over that job, they've only landed 7 or more of the top players in Louisiana once in his tenure. In fact, it's gone 5 out of 10, 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10, and then 9 out of 10. And obviously, we talk about the state of Texas being open. Louisiana might be as open as it's ever been. And it's not just Monroe, Lafayette, Tech. No. This is Alabama, Georgia. It's Florida, Texas, Clemson. They're all stealing kids from Louisiana, in which previously that wasn't really ever the case. And it's interesting because we also hear Jared talk about pretty often. Recruiting's as transactional as it's ever been. Hey, here's a number. If you're here, you're here. If not, we'll give this number to somebody else. So all in all, recruiting relationships do matter. Taking care of your state, I think, does matter, because ultimately, if you look across at some of the top running backs out of the state of Texas recently, Texas has gone out of state for just about everybody on their roster right now, aside from a Trey Wisner. So it's interesting, especially when you hit these recruiting lulls. You're sitting there kind of re-questioning, am I doing this the right way?
Yep. And another thing to consider when you kind of have a national recruiting net, if you're overly dependent on just the state of Texas, sometimes there are positional lulls, if you will, where, oh man, D tackle is really tough to find, or, oh man, they ain't got no edges for back-to-back years. And then you'll end up, that kind of issue will be reflected on your roster if you're overly dependent and just, constructing your roster through one state. So I think there are a lot of benefits to it. And Texas right now they got the luxury of being able to recruit national because they're playing so well. And think about it, they haven't really planted many seeds. Like Texas hadn't been this good since 2009. So you got a generation of kids, they didn't grow up rooting for Texas and looking up to Texas football because Texas was great. You didn't really have any seeds planted there. So I think it's another reason why you have to go out of state, just because it's a tougher sell to some of these kids. Because as CJ mentioned, a lot of them about, hey, NIL is my top priority. And I didn't grow up as a Texas fan. To Jeff's point, my family, second generation, if you will, from out of Louisiana or wherever it is. Like, my family did come from Louisiana. But to his point about Garrett Wilson, there are a lot of families like that moved to Texas for job reasons, financial reasons, whatever it may be. So, I like the national recruiting net. I think it's necessary.
I'll say this too, Rod. I see Coach Top and some other people in the chat kind of point this out. You want Texas to pretty much every year try to win the state as much as possible. And I think if you sign a top-notch class, it kind of evens out. I think both you guys, if we all, or actually all three of us, if we combine points, we're all kind of in a way saying the same thing. Cast that wide net, make sure you're taking care of your stuff in your backyard, but you also increase your margin for error if you do go recruit nationally. In other words, if you lose a recruiting battle in state, it's not the end of the world because you're probably recruiting a guy out of state that's just as talented, if not more. But I say it all evens out in the end because I'm gonna go to the 24/7 Sports composite rankings for the last cycle, and this is reflected. You look at the top 4 guys. It was Keelan Russell, Decoria Moore, Michael Fasusi, Devin Sanchez, Alabama, Oregon, Oklahoma, Ohio State. And you're like, okay, well, Texas has the number 1 class. Here's why: numbers 5 through 8 were Jonah Williams, Khalika Lockett, Lance Jackson, and Cade Phillips. So if you're taking care of your business in recruiting by and large the way you should, it'll all pretty much even out in the end. And you'll look up at the end of the cycle and be like, yeah, maybe you didn't dominate the state, but it's like I just got through saying, I don't think you can do that anymore. But you got the majority of the guys that you targeted in state. If you get a kind of class you're satisfied with, you'll end up with a fair number of those guys.
And where are those guys from? The guys Texas got? I'm curious. The ones
so Galveston Ball, kind of that coastal bend region. You got Saxes, Metroplex, Texarkana out in Texas, and Cade Phillips, the rare win, Rod, for Texas in Fort Bend County.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I think it was really well explained by you guys and broken down as to why it's in Texas' best interest to cast the widest net they can in recruiting. Thank you for the question, Victor. That was a good question. Let's hit some super chats because we got a bunch of them here. RJ says, LeBron James. That's for you, CJ. Okay. By the way, I'm not a LeBron hater. By the way, I just put that on the record. I'm not a LeBron hater. All right.
I had to get the chalk.
Yeah. I will say MJ is the greatest, but I'm not a LeBron hater at all. But I understand. The hate, by the way. I get it.
You'll be happy to know I'm looking at the basketball GOAT shelf in my office, and I've got a LeBron James Wheaties box right there next to some MJ cards. So
exactly, it's respect, man. It's respect. Like you got to respect LeBron. You ain't got to like him. Exactly. That's why people don't like him right there, because he literally gave himself an imaginary crown one day.
It's a great celebration.
He's the most he's an unintentional villain. Like, he doesn't try to do things.
Great father, never in trouble, no scandals, just the love of the game. Build schools for kids.
No, I actually, as I said, I'm with you. That's why I don't hate on LeBron. I think LeBron's a great star for the league because we're always talking about him. That's how you know he's a good star for the league, because he never lets it. I think now they're talking about him potentially doing like commentary on Amazon, like whatever, when at the future NBA contracts, like he wants to be like a guy that actually does commentary on the games and stuff, be an analyst. That'd be awesome.
I try not to talk too much basketball with Rod, because one time I made the mistake of mentioning I was a Derrick Rose fan, and Rod went on like a 5-minute tangent about why Derrick Rose is the worst MVP ever.
Yeah.
It made me like rethink everything in my life right at that point. I'm like, damn, like if I
stolen MVP from LeBron.
Exactly. Tell me I'm wrong though. Anybody
that's what I'm saying.
Worse MVP than Derrick Rose.
You made me rethink everything, Rod. So I'm not ready for those seismic shifting kind of talks sometimes. I gotta have the right mind for those.
Yeah, I remember that discussion. Every now and then you remember those. I don't know why I'm so passionate about that, but that is something I'm still passionate about. Because you know why? At the time I was arguing. I remember this. I was on the radio arguing at the time that Steph Curry was better. And people were like, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You need to stick to football. You know what the hell are you talking about? You just shut up. I was like, I'm telling you, go look. He's a better player. And boom, years later, still that hot take, man, it aged like fine wine. Everybody was like, yeah, you might be right about that, Robbie. You're damn right I was right.
The only 2 times Rod has ever like gotten half hot at me in an argument has been twice. It's been the Derrick Rose argument, and then we had a conversation one time about Duke Thomas being a 2-way player at Texas.
I remember that. I don't know why.
Rod just looked at me and reacted like the audacity that I had to even suggest it was more than just a spring practice experience. I love you, Duke. If you're out there listening, Duke Thomas is my guy.
Yeah, I don't even know why. And I like Duke too. I don't know why. I was just arguing against the 2-way ability. Anyway, all right, let's get to a couple more super chats here because we got a bunch of them. All right, how about this one from Horns fan says, can you go over baseball high school recruit class? Oh. Okay.
Yeah, actually, I don't think it's dropped yet, but we're dropped today. We've got a portal/recruiting edition of Bases Loaded dropping.
Nice.
All we can tell you is there's really no sense right now in going down the high school recruiting class, because between the draft and portal editions and everything to come here in the next couple of weeks, there's a lot that's going to change with that class. So I can tell you this. I don't feel great about the top two guys, Casey Cunningham and Gavin Fine. I feel like both those guys are as good as gone to the draft. I mean, CJ, you saw Fine. I forget if it was you or Blake that said you saw Fine mocked like the Rangers at 12.
Yeah. And right before him was Cunningham mocked at 11. So, that's tough to battle against. And, with Texas, the way that it's pursued the portal, I think they're already planning, in my eyes, to basically go into 2026 without either of these guys stepping foot on campus. And that happens, right? Brett Beatty, a big one, Was it Trevor Story or Josh Bell? Which one back in the day was committed here, Jeff?
Josh Bell. Josh Bell was 5 minutes away from enrolling, and that was right before they instituted the signing bonus rules. And the Pirates are like, hey, I think they offered him like $5 million or something stupid. Like, how's this sound? It's like, and it's kind of like that point. It's like, what are you gonna do?
Pretty good.
Oh, that's a good phone call to get. Or however you get that news, like, listen, we're really negotiate. We're going to offer you $5 million. Does that sound like something that can change?
Hey, Robbie, I got $5 million for you. Yes or no?
I don't think it was quite 5, but it was something. Basically, it was one of those things where like you just throw out a stupid number and the Pirates are like, okay, yeah, we'll match it.
They made him an offer he couldn't refuse. And
I guess I got to go play pro ball now.
Guess so. Damn. The loin girder says, CJ, defend LeBron and him trying to devalue rings. Go.
Team sport. Look, I mean, yeah.
That's simple. You know what I mean?
That's simple.
By any means necessary. When you're chasing rings, right? All is fair in love, war, and chasing the championship ring. So
if I went through every bit of my LeBron argument, I wouldn't have any friends left. There'd be no more viewers on this channel. And since it's a Friday, I'm going to save everybody from that.
I agree. That's the way to go. Because you're going to upset too many people. And if a lot of your fans are going to turn on you, CJ, just because of LeBron. People are that passionate about this LeBron thing.
Oh, I know.
Like the LeBron MJ debate, I think honestly still may be the most contentious and volatile of sports debates right now. Like both sides are willing to get very passionate about that debate. You don't really see that any other time. I mean, the only debate other than that's get people more riled up and we're not going to talk about this. All right, is the Colin Kaepernick debate. All right, about Colin Kaepernick and kneeling and protest. That's the only other time I've seen people get that like riled up. Some people are getting like that about the Caitlin Clark thing, the Caitlin Clark, and
that's getting close there, Rob.
It is. Like, people are getting very heated about that sports debate. It's like, wow. So anyway. All right, let's get back to Texas football. I apologize. The Loin Girder with a good super chat. Thank you, Loin Girder. We appreciate all the super chats. Thank you, guys. Very kind of you. Said everyone's overgirding their loins. Nice one. Sark has shown everything is going to be okay. If he swings and misses in recruiting, he makes up for it in the transfer portal. Trust the process. Hook him. Yeah. That's a great point. When there is something lacking in the roster, when there's a hole in the roster, he does seem to hit the transfer portal hard with an emphasis on that specific position. That's because he's talked about how he looks at the NFL and treats it, the basic traditional recruiting like the draft, and then you got free agency in terms of building his roster. He looks to fill holes on the roster with the transfer portal. So a good point, Loin Girder. You're right about that. No doubt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate that super chat too. Very kind of you. Let's thank another sponsor before we move on. Let's thank our friends over at Von Lane. Von Lane, folks, if you're trying to get to Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, you're trying to get to San Antonio, you're trying to get to Austin, any of those major Texas cities, it can be a bit of a toss-up, right? Do you deal with the airport chaos and potentially delayed flights and all the ridiculously overpriced items in an airport and just the general stress of having to deal with any airport situation at all? Or do you decide to take that drive yourself and you deal with road rage and traffic jams, and you deal with hours of lost productivity behind the wheel, well, there's a third option, and it's the best option. It's better in every way, and that's Vaughn Lane. I've taken it several times to Fort Worth for business. I've taken it to Houston. I've taken it to Dallas before. It is fantastic. My wife loves it as well. She's actually taken it several times with her girlfriends on different trips. You settle into a plush leather seat. You can, first of all, you arrive at a luxury hotel terminal. So there's no TSA lines, no long-term parking lots, just a seamless boarding experience that takes minutes, not hours. Then you can just relax, settle into a plush leather seat, a hot towel, pillow, and blanket are at arm's reach. Your attendant offers complimentary snacks, beverages, and on select trips, a full meal if you'd like. If you need to relax, you can lean back and enjoy the ride. But if you want to stay productive, there's high-speed Wi-Fi and power at every seat. And so while you're unplugging or powering through, the Vaughn Lane team will be monitoring traffic in real time and using smarter routes and efficient detours to keep your trip smooth and on schedule. And now is the perfect time to plan your fall travel. Booking is open through September. So whether you're headed to a college football game, a weekend getaway, or a business trip that needs to be done right, Vaughn Lane makes the journey part of the reward. Vaughn Lane serves Austin, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, San Antonio, and in the Southeast, Atlanta, Nashville, and Memphis. Visit VaughnLane.com. That's VONLANE.com, and use the code OTF25. That's OTF25 to save $20 off your first ride with Vaughn Lane. Vaughn Lane, elevated regional bus transportations. Thank you very much to our friends at Vaughn Lane for sponsoring our Friday live stream.
Hey, Rod, I mentioned the new baseball portal pickup real quick. It's out now. Western Kentucky lefty Cal Higgins is transferring to Texas. He's up to 96 with his fastball. This is according to Kendall Rogers over D1Baseball.com. 1.87 ERA and 22 appearances this past season, 43.1 innings, 52 strikeouts to 11 walks. So some salty numbers for the lefty.
Yeah. You got to like that K to 9, and you also got to like that walk to strikeout ratio, all of which should be something that translates immediately to the Texas pen.
Nice. I like it.
You need, especially if you're going let me re-rack. If you're going head on into the shift of converting Dylan Volantis into a starter, you're going to need some really live arms at the back end of that bullpen.
All right. I appreciate that, guys. All right, let's get to a couple of more questions. Oh, Joshi wants to know, is this why you don't have a girlfriend, CJ?
I spend all the time I would devote to her, to LeBron and Horn. Let's not be. This takes up a long time too. So, yeah, no time right now.
Oh man, I love it.
Some people get back from going out and hop on the dating apps. CJ watches Tony Romo highlights. He's
yeah, he did. He did say that's what he did. No, CJ goes out a lot though. CJ goes out a lot. Don't let CJ lie. I went to Vegas for the Super Bowl, and CJ flew out there, him and his boys, just like for a night. Like just to go hang out in Vegas during the Super Bowl and kick it a night. Don't let CJ act like he's always at home on the game and looking at highlights. No, CJ be out there. He be out there. Y'all know what I'm talking about. He be out
Jeff,
there.
I don't even know if you've heard this story. I just bought a flight to go gamble for the night, go see what we saw out in Vegas, and no hotel room. We landed at 9. We took off at 8 a.m. We had McDonald's at about 3:45 in the morning, and that was about that.
He's a madman, guys. That dude is in madman phase. Like he's just you can do that only in your mid-20s, but you're like, you know what?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to do it again.
Yeah, exactly. That's a mid-20s thing, though. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Hey, it's a beautiful thing. Good for you, man. I respect it. I can't do it anymore, but I respect it. Let's get back to it. DJ here says, "Hey Jeff, this is a crazy random. But I lived in Florence for like 3 years, but moved to Oklahoma in 2002. Sorry, DJ. You know Deion Taylor? I was good friends with his son when we were younger.
Yeah, Dean Taylor was the what did Coach Taylor coach? I think, of course, cross country and track. I think I forgot what he taught because I didn't have him in class. I think it was a history. But yes, I remember the Taylor family. Yes, sorry you had to move to Oklahoma. My condolences.
Exactly, right? Everybody's got the same feeling like, oh, man, sorry about that. All right, let's get to a couple more questions here. Then I want to ask you guys about the EA Sports, the alleged leaks of the college football ratings for some of the Longhorns, highest-ranked Longhorns on the game. But let's get to, how about this from Daniel? Says, what are your guys' thoughts on Devon Benjamin versus Samari Matthews as far as play style and fit at Texas? Interesting. Okay.
Good question. Good answer here. One, Devon Benjamin is right now being recruited to play kind of that center field safety for Texas.
Okay.
Samari Matthews is going to be one of your island corners. So they're just going to stick him out one side of the ball or one side of the defense and say, hey, that's your side, right? So Texas brought in Samari Matthews by himself at the cornerback position by design to say, hey, this is the spot we want you at. We're prioritizing you. We want you opposite of a Hayward Howard Jr. in this class at the cornerback position. Devon Benjamin, recruit. I know he's played corner. I know he's played nickel. He has a body that really can grow into playing just about anywhere you want in the secondary, and I think he's as good to play anywhere in the secondary. But I love him in the middle of the field. It's going to sound a little crazy. I think there's some Earl Thomas to his game. I think he matches up measurably to Earl Thomas. I think he has that ball tracking ability, and I think he has that instincts. And Rod, you've told this story, so I don't think I'm, breaking any news here, but I think he's got it a little bit more up top than Earl when it comes to the conceptual understanding of a defense. And I heard that was one of the things that the Texas staff was kind of blown away with on his unofficial in April was he got on the board with Coach Aquina in the room, with Coach Orphy in the room, a couple of the other Texas GAs and assistant coaches in the room, and kind of just blew him out of the water with what he knew already about coverages up there. And that's a tough thing to do with all these college coaches saying, here's a formation, they run this, this, and this. What's the coverage that we should run? What coverage should we be in? If they shift, what should we, kind of audible into? And it sounded like he knew right away, what the understanding of a defense should have been. So that's one thing I think that's going for him. But the measurables are pretty comparable, and I think the speed is something that really stands out when you watch his tape.
Yeah, the thing about Earl was early on, obviously in the NFL became a Hall of Fame caliber player, but early on he was all instincts, right? So once the ball is snapped, if he's in the right position, then his instincts take over, and he was amazing. He was, and Coach Aquina, I remember him telling me this, but early on when he was starting in the secondary with Blake Gideon would often, make sure that, hey, I got to get him lined up. Got to get you lined up in the right place. Make sure that you understand. Oh, this is boom, 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 boom. Early on, just because Blake Gideon was already conceptually advanced because he was a coach's son, and he also played them everywhere in high school. But he was a little advanced conceptually. So basically, what CJ is saying is, think about a young Earl Thomas, but already with the conceptual understanding and advanced football IQ that an Earl Thomas would have had later on in his career, or by the time he got to the NFL. Like that was.
Rod, have you watched Benjamin?
I have not gotten a chance to watch him yet. I need to go watch him right now.
There's I think it's his third clip in his junior huddle. He comes from the center field spot and just kind of like a blur, just running downhill with an interception, easy pick six. It's probably from about 60 yards out. But my goodness, it's just like he comes from nowhere. And it's something like that you see and you're just like,
yeah,
that makes sense. So on Devon Benjamin's recruiting, because I know we've talked about him a while. He was at Texas June 6th. He was at Oregon last weekend. He's at Washington right now. Told it's more Texas and Oregon that's going to be battling it out for the California. He's Westlake Village, Oaks Christian. So really talented football player. If that's one that Texas ends up landing, plus a Samar Matthews, you've got yourself a heck of a secondary haul.
The Devon Benjamin, that Earl Thomas comp, and how Coach Aquina would like that makes a lot of sense, because after all the coaching shuffling in the secondary with guys coming and going, once Coach Aquina got settled in, I thought, CJ, that Jalen Lott's teammate at Panther Creek, I thought Donovan Webb was going to be maybe their top guy at safety, and then Coach Aquina and Mark Orphe start doing their evals, and Devon Benjamin went from being a guy that was kind of on the periphery to boom, he's top of the safety board pretty quick.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because Texas is bringing in Paris Melvin out of Cy Springs for an official visit this weekend. That's a true safety as well. So Chase Calicut also in the mix, still from the North Shore High School out in Houston. So that might be the writing on the wall for Devon Benjamin, but at the end of the day, you got to kind of wait and see how the dominoes fall there.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the question, Daniel. Appreciate it. Oh, we got another super chat here. How about this one from AJ? AJ, thank you for the super chat. Says, hey, Rob, let's hear your past, present, and future Mount Rushmore cornerbacks in Texas. Hook them out of Bernie. Ooh, corner. We're going specifically corners? Or are we just going Mount Rushmore DBs, DBU thing? Because specifically corner, that's not easy.
You could probably make a Mount Rushmore of what ifs at corner too. And I'm throwing Holden Hill on that one.
Oh, yeah. Holden Hill might be in that discussion. That's the great point.
Dorian McCullough's on my Mount Rushmore of what ifs too.
What ifs? Now let me think about best. Because Jerry Gray played both at the NFL level, but Jerry Gray was a safety mostly here at Texas, I believe. So was Johnny Johnson.
Yeah.
Johnson, right. So I'm just saying, if you're talking about corner, oh man, like I said, let me think about this for a while, because then you got guys like a lot of the modern guys. Quentin Jammer. I played with one of them. He might be on there now that I'm thinking. If you just gonna talk about just corners, hell, and Nathan Vasher played both at one point here at Texas.
Yeah,
he was damn good playing corner too. I hate to say all of my guys on there. I'm just trying to think about. Aaron Ross obviously is got one of Thorpe at corner. So modern, I guess if we're just going those, man, that's three I would love to put on there. I know I'm missing more of the modern day or some of the more recent guys, but that's crazy to think about that. Texas actually probably had better safeties in their time than corners.
Can I give you an underrated one? Because I told CJ I had this conversation with somebody today, and it's really weird that this came up. If you go back to the 2009 season, when whoever votes on the Thorpe Award decided before the season that Eric Berry was going to get it, so Earl Thomas's historic season was nullified before it even started. Aaron Williams getting snubbed from the All Big 12 team that year is one of the biggest all-conference snub travesties I've seen in my time following the program. Because if you go back to that season, that 2009 season, Rod, we forget, because Earl was so good and, you led the country in run defense. Aaron Williams was about as locked down a corner as a lockdown corner could be.
He was good.
He was awesome in 2009.
He was legit.
Just freaky athlete. Was a two-way player in high school. And his NFL career, I got on this tangent because the buddy I was texting, we were talking about Jermichael Finley. And I think for Jermichael Finley and Aaron Williams both, their NFL careers, it looked like they had figured it out and it was just about to take off, and then both suffered career-ending injuries. So I don't know if he's on the Mount Rushmore, but Aaron Williams is in that conversation probably more prominently than you think he would be. At least he deserves to be.
Yeah. No, Aaron Williams was legit. Yep. And he left early too, right? Didn't he?
Yep. Left after his junior year. Yep.
Smart move, because his career ended up ending prematurely too because of the injuries. Oh man, that's good though. The cornerback thing is good. Because like I said, honestly, when you think about this, Texas just had better All-American and great safeties.
Bryant Westbrook would be on my Mount Rushmore for past cornerbacks. I think he has to be.
In the past?
Yeah.
Yep. I can see that. I'd agree with that. Quentin Jam would be one on mine too. For the
because Westbrook was Westbrook's last season at Texas was 96. Jam got to Texas in 97. Both those guys were a year apart. But even though Jam started as a safety, they were the last of the guys, Rod, that were the big, kind of the big, 6 foot, just jam you at the line of scrimmage. Basically, before rules changes kind of facilitated that those guys couldn't be corners anymore, they were the last of kind of what the old NFL prototype corner used to be.
They moved them because the receivers kept getting bigger.
Yeah.
Right? The receivers like your Rashawn Woods. I remember, we just talked about, was it Reggie Williams yesterday from Washington, that big dude? He was 6'5", something like that. And that's why they needed a big corner.
David
Boston. What about Ray Clay? Ray Claiborne has got to be on the pass one too. Right? Claiborne, if you're talking about old school.
Yeah, because Ray Clay would be up there.
Ray Clay's got to be on the old school one. I'm trying to make sure I get the old school guys right without disrespecting them. But I'm with you. I think the Westbrook is on there too.
Yeah.
I got to go talk to how many old school guys and see how many of some of these guys may have changed positions too, like Jam did and like Nathan Vasher did. I wasn't around in the 60s and the 70s and that kind of stuff. But I think if we're going past just like recent, I think now we've got Aaron Ross, you got Quentin Jammer. I like Westbrook on there too. And
kind of put Jade there, right?
Rick Clay.
Yeah, you got to be.
I was going present with Jade.
Oh,
okay. About he said pass. I want to get to say we gotta get the pass guys right because I think we might have disrespected some old pass guys too. I'm sure, but I think we got a good pass just for corners. But present, yeah, I mean that's what he's right. He's talking about past, present, and future. Are we talking about including all of them in one? Oh, I thought he wanted them all individually.
You got to make that list, Rod.
Then you're looking at guys that's on the roster right now that could be great. A Jonah Williams in that category, and hell, who's got that kind of? Cade Phillips might have that kind of potential to be an all-time great at Texas in the future. Yeah. So anyway, we discussed it probably way more than AJ wanted us to. I apologize about AJ. Yeah, but Jay Barron, I was thinking about him from the present tense. Like now, he's already in terms of corners, like he's up there. I'm trying to think about corners recently, but the thing is, we haven't had. I don't know if we've had elite corner play recently. That's Mount Rushmore worthy.
A lot of Texas fans will somebody's going to throw something at their monitor. Go look at Chris Boyd's 2018 season. And
I'm done. No, that's me.
Are we saying we need to? We saying to consider it?
He needs to be considered because people are like, oh, he got picked on. Yeah, I mean, but at that point, that was life for a corner in the Big 12. Quandre
was
like 18, 19
Quandre was a better corner than Chris Boyd was.
I'm just saying. I think Chris Boyd needs.
If we talk about the present group, like just in the recent years,
yeah,
Quandre was better.
Yeah,
so you can put it on there, but then if you put it on there, I'm putting Quandre on.
I mean, if you're telling me I've got to pick, I'm probably picking Holton Hill, honestly, over Chris Boyd. But I'm just saying, for conversation purposes, I think a lot of people be like, no, he's garbage. Don't mention him. Because I think a lot of people just remember the bad plays. But that 2018 season, he was a first-team all-conference guy.
It's fair.
He did get drafted, and he's still in the league.
That's fair. Yeah, I guess if you're looking at the last obviously, Jade's in it, but we're looking at present as basically kind of the last, 8 years or so, somewhere around there. I guess maybe you're right about that. I didn't think about that. Maybe you could be right. I like Holton Hill. Holton Hill was a beast, man. But
he was fun.
He was a beast that 1 year. That 1 year. But he played like one of the best corners in the country. We just couldn't make good decisions all the time.
Couldn't get out of his own way.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's thank another sponsor before we move on here. Let's thank our friends over at Advanced Pain Care with a very special message from two legendary lifetime Longhorns. They're both on a Mount Rushmore, probably on everybody's Mount Rushmore. Lifetime Longhorn, a legendary lifetime Longhorn, Vince Young and Colt McCoy.
Pros know the pain stops here.
Physical therapy helps me as an athlete then and now. And do I still need therapy? Yes. And Advanced Pain Care helps with that.
Injuries will stack up. They'll add up. You can't let those injuries get you down, and Advanced Pain Care has been very helpful for me.
We can help with whatever's got you down, from nerve damage to our spinal cord stimulator. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Same-day appointments available.
Advanced Pain Care. The pain stops here.
Forgot about Cedric Griffin. Yeah, Cedric Griffin was a beast of a corner. If we're gonna do, if we're doing past, it's hard to put him in the past group.
Yeah,
many great ones. It fills up, and I have to extend the breadth. I'm saying it was a tougher question when I broke it down the way I did. If we just want to go Mount Rushmore all time, then it was an easy question that we probably would have got done with 90 seconds. So I wanted to give AJ the best bang for his buck. All right, Jonah Williams enthusiast says, "What is your guys' favorite brand in the SEC other than Texas? I've always liked Florida's brand and program." By the way, we got Jonah Williams. Thank you, Jonah Williams enthusiast. You're damn right. I just mentioned him. I didn't even see your super chat there. Mentioned future Mount Rushmore DBs or corners and DBs, and I was talking about he might be one of those DBs that ends up on a Mount Rushmore somehow in the future. But anyway, Go ahead. Other than Texas, your favorite SEC brands, gentlemen.
For me, it's LSU.
Oh,
Just because I love college baseball, that LSU college baseball brand has always been something for me. I've always kind of liked LSU, but when I was in college I had a sports media class, and part of the required reading was a book by John Ed Bradley, who wrote for SI. He was a former LSU football player. It's a book called It Never Rains in Tiger Stadium. Basically, it's about LSU football, and that just made me really appreciate LSU football. But Shaq went to LSU. I'm a big Shaq guy, so for me, it'd probably be LSU.
That's good. Surprising.
I've always thought LSU had the most swag of any school in the country. Like any sport, doesn't matter. Any instance in my lifetime, if you had any ounce of swag, you were going to LSU. And I know swag doesn't mean a whole lot anymore. Like Tyrann Mathieu, Pat Pete, those guys set the groundwork for what turned into, in my life, again, I'm younger than most, but that turned into an Odell Beckham, a Jarvis Landry, these guys with just ultimate aura. And I agree, Jeff. I think that's one of those schools that you just kind of look at, and it's odd because they don't have a true rival that you just admire from afar almost, but when you play them, you hate them instantly. And I think a lot of that goes into it. It's tough, but I've always had a respect for Florida. Yeah. That's a school that's always been good in everything, similar to how Texas kind of looks now, right? They've had the basketball championships. We've talked about baseball. Football went on their run with Urban. They kind of been up and down since then. The one thing about LSU that I've never understood is, how is that school bad at basketball? They're always bad at basketball. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. Talk about LSU, CJ?
Yeah, how does that make sense?
They keep getting on probation. They keep getting coaches that fire.
I mean,
it's
unbelievable. That school stinks to high heavens in basketball.
They had a team, I want to say it would have been, I think, Shaq's freshman year with Shaq, Chris Jackson, who before, I'm not saying he would have been Steph Curry if he played today, but Chris Jackson was about 20 years ahead of his time. It was Shaq, Chris Jackson, and Stanley Roberts. How that team didn't go to at least the Final Four, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how you don't do that with Shaq.
Yeah, Shaq's unstoppable. Exactly. Like, you're like, you got one unstoppable force there. I don't know how that happened. I agree with CJ. I'm a Florida. I always admired Florida for years.
I'll give you another one that I like. And Rod, you can appreciate this because we both went down there. I kind of, Ole Miss is willing to sometimes play the heel. Like they are what they are, and they embrace it. Like if you hire Lane Kiffin and Chris Beard, you're willing to embrace being the heel. And you talk about road trips, man. The Grove is one that surpassed my expectations. Like, it was hyped up. It was like the 2005 Texas USC of football road trips. It was like, it's great, it's awesome. I'm like, man, it can't be this good, right? And like, nope, it was better than everybody told me it was.
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, no, it's worth it. It's I agree. It was a spectacle.
Yeah,
that it was. I'm with you on that. I didn't expect it to be as, man, like I said, I didn't expect it to be as extravagant as it was. Everybody's dressed up, so this is like this weird vibe with all the kids kind of dressed up into the nines, that kind of thing. So it was really cool. I'm with you on that. But I don't like Mississippi, the state. Period. Like, no, I'm trying to stay the hell away from Mississippi. Like, there ain't a lot of good things in Mississippi. The Grove may be one of them. All right, let's thank our final sponsor of the evening, our friends over at South Point Dodge. Really appreciate them and their continued support of ON Texas football. Right now, it's a great time for you to head on over and go see our friends over at South Point Dodge. They have over 600 vehicles in stock right now, including the all-new 2025 Ram 1500. Get the real deal today and drive away in the all-new Ram, proven to last. Plus, you get employee incentive pricing with our friends over at South Point Dodge. That's right. You pay what the employees pay. Now that's a real deal. So score big today at South Point Dodge. Go see them off of I-35 in South Austin, or you can go to southpointdodge.com. Don't forget about the employee incentive pricing, their fancy way of saying you get the employee discount with our friends over at South Point Dodge, southpointdodge.com. Okay, real quick before we get out of here, I want to hit the EA Sports alleged EA college football EA Sports leak of the player ratings. Matthew, I believe that I'm sure it was probably you yourself on Texas Football. The Twitter account, I believe, put up a graphic on social media with all of the Longhorns who were listed in this alleged leak. And I'm sure you can grab that. But for those who did not see it, earlier today, there was an account. I don't even know what the account's name. I don't follow it, but apparently it's an account that is dedicated to college football, the EA Sports video game, and they leaked what looks like EA Sports ratings. Thank you very much. College football player ratings. Anthony Hill was the first one I saw comment on it. Anthony Hill, like, quote tweeting, commented, he said that sounds about right or something like that. Like that's so he is at a 95 on the game, which has him as the highest rated Longhorn and among the highest rated players in the country. Colin Simmons at a 93. Malik Muhammad, they have here at a 92 overall. Michael Taft, along with Trey Weisner, both here at 91. They do have Arch Manning at 90 and Ryan Wingo at 86 overall in the game. Ryan Wingo, I believe, is the fastest Longhorn, though, when I looked at the speed ratings that were alleged leaked. He had the highest speed rating. I'll give you that in just a second. But, guys, initial thoughts about the alleged leak of the ratings for the college football game for 2026.
It's crazy saying Arch Manning this low down the list, but
should have been a 99.
Get out of here.
But I think that makes sense for Anthony Hill, who I think is a top 4, maybe top 5 player in the entire game.
Yes, he is. He's behind only Jeremiah Smith at 98, Caleb Downs at 96, and Jeremiah Love at 95 are the only players rated higher than Anthony Hill at 95, and he's tied with Ryan Williams and TJ Parker.
Yeah, that's a pretty good rating. I think EA Sports also kind of learned, hey, maybe let's tap the brakes on some of these rankings, especially after seeing, I think it was Amari Niblack last year who was about an 88 coming into the game.
Oh,
that was a little high in hindsight. So who knows what he's ranked right now for A&M. Of course, I think that's also very funny that we're at this point of the year now where he's a guy generating a lot of offseason buzz for A&M. We'll see again. But right now, that feels about right. Good for Trey Weisner, 91. That's pretty significant rating for him.
Yeah, I got no complaints. I saw a lot of people were kind of hot on the Twitter machine that Manny Muhammad was rated higher than Michael Taft. I don't have an opinion one way or the other, but that seemed to be something people got worked up about. But
okay.
I got no problem with anything here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I do think Michael Taft had a better season than Malik Muhammad, but I mean, they're pretty close. And I bet they're just going off. A lot of this is probably based on their athletic scores. And yes, of course, they're probably knocking the white safety, but they probably have Malik Muhammad with some of the better, like, overall, like, athletic scores. But as a player, like, if you look at awareness and all, I haven't looked at all those ratings, but like awareness and, ball tracking, all this kind of stuff, the Taft should be pretty high in those things, just kind of based on the season that he had. But there you go. Those are the Longhorns. Arch Manning at a 90. I think it's fair. I mean, 90 is really high. Hey, I wonder what Rod B was on these damn games. I probably was never ranked as a 90. So that's really good. Some people probably think he got disrespected, but that's pretty damn good. And do these get updated like the Madden ones get updated?
Yeah.
They do?
They do, yeah.
Okay.
I didn't play it enough last year to know.
There you go. That's all you need to know. Fast, I told you I'd give you this. Ryan Wingo was a 96 speed, which is pretty damn fast. I mean, that's crazy. They got him real fast on the game. So you want to, yeah, exactly. You want to chunk it deep to that dude. All right. Thank you very much, guys, for all the questions. I'm sorry we couldn't get to all the questions. You guys had some really good questions today. I apologize about that. We'll have another live stream coming up Sunday night. So if you want to direct those questions to myself, Bobby Burton, Jerry Hamilton is going to be on that live stream Sunday night at 7:15. Please do. Thank you very much to Matthew behind the scenes. Matthew is a real MVP, always done a great job twisting and tweaking the dials back there. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Thank you to Advanced Pain Care. Really appreciate their ongoing support. Thank you to Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com. Thank you to South Point Dodge, southpointdodge.com, and Bond Lane as well, bondlane.com. Use that code OTF25. You'll get $20 off your first ride with Bond Lane. Also, if you want a year subscription to ontexasfootball.com, use the code OTFOG. All right, OTFOG, and you'll get a year subscription for just $39.95. Thank you very much, Matthew. That's a hell of a deal. Like I said, the stuff we we talk about here on the channel is probably a fraction, maybe a third of what is actually available to you. Those insider nuggets and details at OwenTexasFootball.com by Jeff and by CJ and Bobby and Jerry doing a great job. Blake Monroe as well, the Owen Texas football team. So thank you, Matthew. We appreciate your efforts. For Matthew and for CJ and for Jeff, I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em horns.